Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, this time we're tackling product and service marketing strategies.
Lots to unpack there.
Definitely. We'll be using this article from Procure for Marketing. It's called Product and Service Marketing Strategies.
Part one. Okay.
It's from June of last year.
So pretty recent.
Yeah, nice and fresh. And, it might sound a little dry at first, marketing strategies.
Yeah.
But it's really fascinating stuff. Like, we're talking about how companies take an idea and turn it into, a must-have product or service.
The whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the article breaks it down really well.
Right, and they start off with this great analogy, the product life cycle. They compare it to a human life.
I like that.
It's born, it grows, it matures, and then...
And then eventually.
Yeah.
Not to be morbid.
Exactly.
But it's a good way to visualize it, to see how companies change their strategies for each stage.
Oh, for sure. So, let's say we're in the beginning, the introduction phase.
Right, so it's all about getting the word out.
It's like a big announcement.
Exactly, and trying to attract those early adopters.
Those are the people who just got to have the newest thing, right?
Right, the ones who are willing to take a chance on something new.
Makes sense. So lots of targeted campaigns, maybe some special deals.
Yeah, got to entice those early birds.
Okay. So then the product moves into the growth phase.
Right, so it's not just about hype anymore.
What happens then?
Well, things get a little more serious. The company needs to show they can actually deliver.
So the pressure's on.
Oh, yeah. Now they need to convince a wider audience that the product's actually good, that it's not just a fad.
Right.
This is where we see companies focusing on what makes them different.
Like better than the competition.
Exactly. They might add new features based on feedback from those early adopters.
Interesting.
And they'll probably expand their distribution, try to reach more people.
So it gets more complex.
It does, and actually a lot of products don't make it past this stage.
Oh, wow.
The numbers are kind of scary.
So it's not just about having a good product.
Nope. You need a good strategy to keep growing.
Okay. So let's say a product reaches the maturity phase.
I think it would be pretty stable then, right?
I would think so.
But there are still challenges.
Oh, like what?
Well, growth starts to slow down.
Inevitably, right.
Yeah, the market gets saturated.
Meaning?
Meaning there are more competitors, and customers have more choices.
So what can a company do?
Well, one thing is to try and extend the product's lifespan.
Like a makeover.
Sort of. They might offer different versions of the product, like a pro version or a budget option.
To appeal to different customers.
Yeah, squeeze every last drop out of it before...
Before what?
The decline phase.
Ah, the inevitable.
Yeah, it happens to most products eventually.
So sales start to drop.
Yeah, and profits.
Why does that happen?
Well, could be a lot of reasons. Maybe new technology comes along.
Oh, makes the product obsolete.
Exactly. Or maybe consumer taste change.
So what can a company do? Do they just give up?
Not necessarily. They've got some tough choices to make.
Or like what?
Well, they could try to completely revamp the product.
Make it new again?
Yeah. Or they could just discontinue it, cut their losses and move on.
Focus on something else.
Exactly. Or they could try to keep selling it for as long as possible.
Just squeeze out whatever profit they can.
Yeah. It's a tricky decision.
Lots of factors to consider.
Right, like the market trends, available resources.
And the company's overall goals.
Definitely. But, understanding the product lifecycle helps companies make those decisions.
So they can be proactive.
Exactly. And make the most of what they've got.
Okay, so we've gone through this whole life cycle, but how do these products even get created in the first place?
That's a great question. It's not magic, though it might feel like it sometimes.
Right.
The article talks about a 7-step process for new product development.
7 steps.
Yeah, it's pretty structured to help minimize risk.
Sounds like a roadmap.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What's step 1?
It starts with idea generation.
So they're just looking for ideas.
Right, but they're looking everywhere. They talk to their own teams, customers, even competitors.
Wow, casting a wide net.
Exactly. They want to find that spark, that idea that could be a winner.
But I imagine they get a ton of ideas.
They do.
So how do they narrow it down?
That's step 2, idea screening. This is where they get more critical.
So they're not all good ideas.
Definitely not. They need to filter out the ideas that just aren't feasible.
Or maybe they don't fit with the company's goals.
Right, or maybe there's just no market for them. A common tool they use here is a SWOT analysis.
So for strength.
Stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. They look at each idea and assess it.
Pretty thorough.
It has to be. They're making big decisions.
Okay, so let's say an idea makes it past the screening.
Then what?
Do they just start building the product?
Not quite. Step 3 is concept development and testing. This is where they flesh out the idea.
Make it more concrete.
Yeah. They might develop prototypes, do some mock-ups.
And then what?
They start gathering feedback from potential customers.
Oh, so they get input from real people.
Definitely. They might use focus groups, surveys, things like that.
So they can refine the concept.
Exactly. Make sure it resonates with your target audience.
Makes sense. But at some point, they have to look at the numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's step 4, business analysis.
So this is where they figure out if it's actually profitable.
Exactly. They'll forecast sales, estimate costs, and project profitability.
Sounds complicated.
It can be, but it's essential. They need to know if the product can be a financial success.
Okay, but let's say the numbers look good. What's next?
Then they can finally start building the thing.
Ah, that's step 5.
Yeah, product development. This is where the concept becomes reality.
So this is where the engineers come in.
Yeah, and designers and marketers.
The team effort.
For sure, they're building prototypes, testing them, refining the design.
I bet that's exciting to see your idea come to life.
It is, but it can also be really challenging.
Lots of unexpected hurdles, I imagine.
Definitely. But if everything goes well, they'll have a product that's almost ready for market.
Almost. What else is there?
Step 6, market testing. This is where they do a sort of trial run.
So they don't just launch it to the whole world right away.
Nope, they release it to a small group of consumers first.
Oh, so they can get feedback?
Exactly. See if there are any kinks to work out.
Smart.
Yeah, it's a critical step. And then finally, if everything's good, they reach the last stage, commercialization.
This is it, the big launch.
Yeah, they release the product to the world, full marketing campaigns, sales strategies, the whole day yards.
Wow, what a process. It's incredible to think about all the steps involved.
It really is. It's a testament to careful planning and, really understanding the market.
But what about services? You can't really build a service in the same way as you can a product.
Right. That's where things get even more interesting.
So how do you market something that you can't hold in your hand?
That is the million-dollar question, and that's where we'll pick up next time.
Okay, so last time we walked through that whole product life cycle. It's amazing how much goes into bringing a product to market.
It's a whole journey.
Yeah, for sure. But now I'm really curious about services. Like, how do you even market something that you can't, physically hold?
It is different, right?
Yeah.
But the basic ideas are the same.
Yeah.
You still need to understand your audience.
Right. Their needs, what they're looking for.
Exactly. But with services, you're really selling the intangibles.
The intangibles, meaning.
Things like experience, expertise, the value you bring.
Okay, I see. So how do companies make their services stand out, especially when you can't just rely on fancy packaging or cool features?
Well, one big one is quality of service. It sounds obvious, but it's huge.
So basically, just do a good job.
Yeah, but consistently, you always got to be exceeding expectations.
Right.
Think of like a hotel chain with amazing customer service. They go above and beyond.
Make you feel special.
Yeah, exactly. They remember your preferences. They anticipate your needs.
Little things make a difference.
They do. That kind of attention builds loyalty.
People will keep coming back.
They will. And they'll tell their friends.
Word of mouth.
Exactly. That's gold in the service industry.
So it's all about that personal touch.
Yeah, it is. It's like the difference between, mass production and something handmade.
You can feel the care that went into it.
Right. But how do you do that when you have lots of customers? How do you personalize it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, customization and personalization, those are key.
And how do you do that?
Technology is a big part of it.
Okay.
Companies are using data to understand individual preferences.
So they can tailor their services.
Exactly. Think of like a financial advisor. They can create custom investment plans for each client.
Oh, I see.
Or a streaming service recommending movies based on what you've watched before.
It's all personalized.
Right. It's about making the customer feel seen.
Like they matter.
Yeah, like they're not just a number.
Okay, so that's the service itself. But what about the overall experience?
Ah, yes. Brand experience is another big one.
What does that mean?
Well, it's everything the customer encounters, from your website to your marketing materials, even how your customer service reps talk to them.
It's the whole package.
It is, and companies are putting a lot of effort into making it positive.
Makes sense. So, for example...
Think of a spa. They create this whole relaxing atmosphere.
Right, the music, the scents.
Yeah, it's all about creating a memorable experience.
Something that makes you feel good.
Exactly, and that sets them apart from the competition.
Okay. But we're in a digital world now. Do you even need a physical location anymore? Can't services just exist online?
That's a great point. And for some services, yeah, online is enough. Like online coaching maybe, or graphic design.
Okay.
But for a lot of services, a physical presence still matters.
Even if it's just a small office?
Yeah, or a storefront. It gives customers a place to go if they need face-to-face interaction.
I can see that.
But even for those online-only services, technology integration is crucial.
What do you mean?
Like, think about a restaurant that uses an app for ordering and delivery.
Oh, yeah. I use those all the time.
Right. It makes things so much easier.
Definitely. And what about, like, banks with online banking?
Perfect example. It's all about using technology to make things better for the customer.
Streamline the experience.
Exactly. But with so many businesses out there, how do you keep innovating? How do you stay ahead?
Yeah, it's a crowded market.
That's where innovative service models come in.
Meaning,
Well, it's about coming up with new ways to deliver your services. Think outside the
like,
box.
be creative.
Exactly. Think of a gym that offers both in-person and online classes.
Oh, interesting.
Or a grocery store that partners with a ride-sharing service for delivery.
Makes sense.
It's about being flexible, trying new things, and going above and beyond.
Okay, I like it. So we've talked about how to make individual products and services successful.
Right.
But what about managing a whole portfolio of offerings?
Ah, yeah, that's a whole other level.
It's not just about one product, it's about the whole business.
Exactly. And that's where portfolio management comes in. It's like being a conductor of an orchestra.
I like that analogy.
You've got all these different instruments, right?
Yeah.
And you need to make sure they all work together to create a beautiful symphony.
So how do companies decide which instruments to play, which products and services to focus on?
Well, there are some frameworks that can help. One popular one is the BCG matrix.
BCG.
Stands for Boston Consulting Group. It's a way to categorize products and services based on their market growth and market share.
So you can see which ones are doing well.
Right, and which ones might need more attention.
Okay, tell me more. How does it work?
Well, it's a matrix with 4 quadrants. You've got stars.
Stars, like celebrities.
Well, sort of. These are products or services with high market share in a fast-growing market.
So they're the top performers.
Exactly. They bring in lots of revenue, but they often require a lot of investment to stay on top.
It's a balancing act.
It is. Then you have question marks.
Question mark. So you're not sure about these.
Right. They're in a high-growth market, but they don't have a lot of market share yet.
So they have potential.
They do, but it's risky. They might become stars, or they might fizzle out.
You got to make a chance.
Sometimes you do. Then there are cash cows.
Okay, now I'm really curious.
These are your steady earners, high market share in a slow-growing market.
So they're reliable,
Yeah, they bring in a consistent stream of revenue.
but not a lot of growth.
Exactly. And then lastly, there are dogs.
Dogs. So these are the ones that are not doing so well?
Yeah, low market share in a slow-growing market. Not much potential.
So what do you do with them?
Well, often it's best to discontinue them.
Makes sense.
Free up resources to focus on the stars and question marks.
So the BCG matrix helps you make those tough decisions,
It does. Of course, it's just one tool. There are other things to consider.
like the company's goals, the competition.
Right, and the overall market trends, it's all connected.
So managing a portfolio is a dynamic process,
Very dynamic. It's always changing.
always adapting.
Exactly.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive. It's been a whirlwind tour of product and service marketing.
It has, from start to finish.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, but now I'm really curious about the future.
The crystal ball.
Right, like what trends are going to shape marketing going forward?
Well, one that's already huge, and it's only going to get bigger, is personalization.
Personalization, okay.
Yeah, customers expect tailored experiences these days.
They want things that are just for them.
Exactly. Products, services, marketing messages, it all needs to be personalized.
So how do companies do that?
Data and AI are key.
The tech comes in.
Right. And companies can gather so much information about customers now.
From their browsing habits and what they buy.
Yeah, all of it. And then they can use that data to create those hyper-personalized experiences.
So like instead of getting generic ads,
You get ads that are actually relevant to you.
I can see how that would be more effective.
Oh, definitely. It's about reaching the right person with the right message at the right time.
Okay, personalization makes sense. What else? What other trends are out there?
Sustainability is a big one.
Sustainability, like being eco-friendly.
Yeah, and being socially responsible.
So companies have to care about more than just making money.
They do, especially if they want to appeal to younger generations.
Because those consumers are more conscious of those things.
Right. They want to support brands that align with their values.
So they'll choose a company that's, say, ethical or eco-friendly.
Exactly. It's not just about the product or service anymore. It's about the company behind it.
Makes sense. So it's not enough to just say you're sustainable.
Yep, you got to actually do it.
Walk the walk.
Exactly, and be transparent about it.
So customers can see what you're doing.
Right. And trust that you're being authentic.
Because trust is important.
Huge. Especially now with so many choices out there, customers want to feel like they can trust the brands they're supporting.
Okay, so we've got personalization, sustainability, and trust.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget about e-commerce. That's not going away anytime soon.
It's only getting bigger.
So how do businesses stand out online? There's so much competition.
Well, first and foremost, you need a strong online presence.
Okay, meet again.
Good website, engaging social media, a smooth online shopping experience.
Sounds simple enough.
But it's not easy. There are so many platforms to manage, so many things to keep track of.
And it's constantly changing.
Exactly. You need to be flexible, adaptable, and always testing new things.
Always learning.
Exactly. And then there's AI. Everyone's talking about it these days.
Yeah, it feels like AI is everywhere.
It is, and it's definitely changing marketing.
So are human marketers going to be out of a job? Should I be worried?
I don't think so. AI is a powerful tool.
But it's still a tool.
Yeah, it can automate tasks, analyze data, personalize experiences.
Makes sense.
But it's still humans who come up with the big ideas, who build those relationships with customers.
But it's about using AI to make us better at our jobs.
Exactly. Not to replace us.
I like that. It's like having a superpowered assistant.
Perfect analogy. And on that note, partnerships are becoming even more important.
Partnerships? Like with other businesses.
Yeah, or influencers, or even your own customers.
Because you can't do everything yourself.
Exactly. It takes a village.
And you need to work together.
Right. Find ways to create value for everyone involved.
So build a strong ecosystem.
That's the idea. And one last thing I'll mention is data privacy.
Oh, right. That's a big one these days.
It is, with all this data being collected.
Companies need to be careful.
Very careful. They need to be transparent about how they're using data, and they need to protect it.
Because customers need to feel like their information is safe.
Absolutely. It's all about building that trust.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Personalization, sustainability, trust, e-commerce, AI, partnerships, data privacy. It feels like the future of marketing is, well, it's a lot.
It is. But it's also exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, for sure. There are so many possibilities, so many ways to be creative and make a difference.
I like that perspective.
It's a challenging field, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about. We've explored this whole world of product and service marketing.
From the basics to the future trends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's clear that this field is constantly evolving. So to our listeners, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of the business world.
Until then, happy marketing.
See you then.